Hello, and welcome to ALZ Talks. Today, we're going to be discussing Alzheimer's, dementia, and the holidays. My name is Jackie, and joining me today in this conversation is Michael, who is a volunteer support group facilitator and community educator for the Alzheimer's Association. Michael, why don't you share with us a little bit about what your connection is with the Alzheimer's Association?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and I've been with the association since 2012. I was a caregiver for my mother. She had was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in approximately 1995, and she had a 15-year journey from diagnosis till death. I was working full-time at the time, so for the first 5 years, I was able to keep her at home. She was a widow, and I'm an only child. So eventually I did place her into a facility. I am now a retired EMT. I do first aid for adult mental health now. I'm certified in that, taking care of people with behavioral health or substance abuse challenges, as well as working with the Alzheimer's Association. So I have a couple of support groups. One in particular is for men only. These are for men that are taking care of their wives. There's only a couple of these groups here in the United States. So that's a little bit about me, and we'll learn a little bit more later. Jackie?
Wonderful. Well, I, like Michael, cared for my mother as well. My husband and my two children and I moved in with my mother after my father passed away. She had been diagnosed with dementia and had been failing and got to a point where she really just couldn't take care of herself. One of the things that was interesting as I moved in with her and became a caregiver for her is the number of individuals I kept kind of running into and meeting who were experiencing a lot of the same things I was experiencing and had a lot of the same questions I had. And while it was comforting to know that I wasn't alone, that there were others out there who were walking this same journey, it did open my eyes just to the importance of getting the word out to the communities of what kind of resources are available, what kind of programs and education are there to help ease that journey along. So that's why I too became a volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association. And I'm a community program educator and go out and do a number of just talks to different groups to help them learn about the disease, how to talk to caregivers about caring for individuals with the disease, and any number of things that our local community needs are in our area here. So let's jump in. We're going to really kind of focus a little bit on our discussion, thinking about the holidays coming up. With the holidays, it obviously invokes a lot of feelings, a lot of considerations that need to be taken care of, a lot of anxiety along all of that. And as we start gathering with individuals, some things that we think might be important to know and to really be top of mind would be really around, first off, the 10 warning signs of dementia. And we're going to quickly share some of those with you. So as you're in the process of maybe seeing a loved one you haven't seen in a while, or you've been suspecting some things of an individual, or maybe even in yourself, these might be some things that you might want to be thinking about or considering as you're getting together with individuals and see what type of changes you might have noticed or might be witnessing at that time. So the first warning sign is someone who is starting to experience memory loss that starts disrupting their daily life. And it could be things like they're asking the same questions over and over again. And when you think back about to me and my mom in my situation, that was one of the telltale signs for us, is that my mom kept asking, what day is this? What is today? And you would tell her, oh, today is Wednesday. And she would be like, oh, okay. And a couple of minutes later, she would ask the same question over and over again. She was not able to comprehend and remember that short-term information that we had shared with her. So if you start seeing someone asking the same questions over and over again, that might be a sign that there might be something going on. Michael, why don't you share number 2 with us?
Thank you. Another situation that might come up is that people start having problems in planning things or solving a problem. This time of year is perfect. For example, uh, this particular person who makes this one favorite dish for the Thanksgiving dinner that everyone likes. But all of a sudden, that dish doesn't taste the same because they forgot the recipe. They forgot how to make that dish. That's one of the indications that someone might be coming down with some type of dementia or Alzheimer's.
Absolutely.
Jackie?
Yeah. So, and that's also, it actually rolls into the third sign, which is difficulty completing familiar tasks. If that individual was making that same dish over and over again, over the years, and can pretty much do it with their eyes closed, and then they make it for a particular meal and it's just not tasting the same, and maybe there's missing ingredients, or maybe they left something out or put something in or put too much of something in, they're not remembering something that had been very familiar and comfortable to them as well. So 4, Michael, you want to share number 4 with us?
Sure. Another thing is confusion with time or place. They don't remember exactly what time it is. Jackie and I were just discussing the weather, how it's changed a lot. I'm on the East Coast. He's a tad bit west of me, next state over, actually. But a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, it was in the 70s. And now it's in the 30s and 20s for her. So if someone comes out today dressed like they did back when it was in the 70s, that's an indication there might be a problem. Or they don't remember exactly where they are. You take them someplace, then it's that they should know. It should be familiar to them. And they're asking, where am I? Whose house is this? And it's little things like that are indications that you should be concerned.
Great example. Great example. The 5th one is starting to have trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. This is when we're starting to see individuals have a few more fender benders. If you have an opportunity, it might be good to go and maybe take a look at their car, see if there's a few more scratches. Maybe they're just not judging their distance and maybe bumping somebody, maybe hitting the mailbox at the end of the driveway, or clipping the side of the garage as they're going in because they are having trouble judging those distances. So that's when we're starting to see a lot more of those accidents happen, if you will.
Another situation that might arise is people have problems with words in speaking or in writing. They're talking to you and mid-sentence they stop because they can't think of the proper words to use next. Or sometimes they might not use the right word at all. For example, this thing on your arm here, those of us who don't have dementia will know this is a watch. Someone with dementia might say, well, that clock on my arm. They don't have the right word for that. Especially with people who are used to reading a lot or writing, it becomes very obvious with them. A lot of people will start withdrawing from other people because they realize that they're not able to talk to them like they used to. That's just another example. And Jackie?
Number 7 is misplacing things, or not having the ability to retrace their steps to find something if they have misplaced it. Really good example would be maybe for the upcoming holidays, if they're helping to do dishes or something and they start putting things in areas that you would not think. Now, if it's not your kitchen, you might, put the spoon in, the cooking spoon in the wrong drawer or wrong place in the drawer, those type of things. But what if that cooking spoon ended up like in the refrigerator or in the oven, not knowing where it would, they just opened something and put it in there. So you might start seeing them put things in places that you would not necessarily think is normal for that type of an item.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is decreased or poor judgment. And that comes in a lot of instances. For example, with my mother, one time we were out, actually it was at Christmas dinner at a family house. And she made a comment that really upset me, but the people around knew her situation and they had to calm me down. People with disease don't realize what they're saying. and they don't realize that it might not be appropriate for that time or place. As a support group facilitator, I've had a lot of people say to me, I've never heard my parent use those type of words before. Well, that's probably because you never knew what your parent was like before you were born. Their mind has regressed and they might be saying or doing things that they used to do, but they stopped when you came along.
Those
Yeah.
filters certainly start decreasing, don't they? So, number 9 is that you might start seeing them withdraw from work or social activities. Individuals who are experiencing early stages of dementia certainly know that something's wrong and they're not quite sure what, and they become a bit self-conscious and concerned that somebody may think that they're losing their mind, they might be a bit crazy. So they kind of guard themselves by withdrawing from social situations, so that maybe somebody does not discover that something might be wrong with them, because they themselves aren't exactly sure what that is. So again, during the holidays, the other part too is that if there's a lot of conversations going on, they have a very difficult time tracing and understanding what people are saying and following the conversation. They will think that you're saying something, and while they're still processing it, you've already taken a couple steps into the conversation and they're lagging behind, and they may end up saying something at a time and you're like, well, we discussed that like a couple of minutes ago, and kind of missed that part of the conversation. So do try and draw them into the conversations, but understand that those conversations need to be a little bit slower, a little bit more at a pace that they might be able to include themselves into that conversation.
All right, and the last thing that we're going to talk about are the 10 warning signs is changing in mood and personality. The people become confused. They don't understand what's going on. They're suspicious. A lot of married people will accuse their spouse of infidelity, falsely accuse their spouse of infidelity. They will accuse people of stealing from them simply because they placed something and they forgot where they put it. They misplaced it, as Jackie mentioned earlier, and they forgot that where it's not in its usual spot, so they automatically accuse somebody of stealing. These are the types of things you have to be looking out for. Also, like we talked earlier, their mind regresses. And I've had, again, people in my groups tell me that their spouse wanted to leave. They had been in this house for the past 10 years, but their mind had regressed prior to that. So this person says, this isn't my home. I don't live here. I want to go home. Take me back to such and such a place. So these are the types of changes that occur. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do to change that. We have to learn to accept it. We have to go into their reality.
Great point. Great point. Yeah. Catching them in their reality helps certainly in a lot of fronts. But these 10 signs that we've just discussed and gone through, we have touched on them briefly and quickly. I will say there is so much more information with regard to these warning signs. If you are interested in learning more about them, we would encourage you to go to alz.org/10, and it's the number 10 signs. And that's alz.org/10 signs. Or you can go to alz.org/education and see some of the programs that are available that go into more depth with regard to these 10 warning signs. But more importantly, if you do notice any of these signs or changes in somebody, including yourself, we do encourage you not to ignore them. We would really encourage you to spend time making an appointment and going and see your physician and talk about some of these things that are going on. So now, as we're kind of moving into the holiday timeframe, oftentimes we're going to be getting together with a lot of friends and family. We would encourage you to maybe have a pre-meeting with either family members or friends that you're going to be getting together with to discuss maybe how you might handle situations as it relates to somebody that is currently living with dementia and you're aware that they are living with dementia. A good place to start, as I said, is having a discussion just to make sure everyone is on the same page on how to address and deal with some of the situations that you may experience. So some things to consider would be understanding that everyone might need to have some flexibility and may need to make some adjustments in their expectations. So an example of this in my life that I had to do is that my mom became very anxious when our family got together for the holidays. She loved us. She, wanted to be there until she didn't want to be there. My family, when we get together between my siblings and all of our kids, we're a good 25, 30 strong. And we're rambunctious, we're loud, we like to have fun. And I got to a point where my mom would just get tired and frustrated by all of the noise and all of the activity. And she would look at me and be like, I'm ready to go home. We got to go home now. And early on, I would try to push her off to see if I could, divert her, maybe, redirect her into a better place. And it, maybe worked for the first couple of times, but I quickly learned that when she needed to go, she needed to go. So an adjustment my family made is that my mom and I would drive separate, then my husband and my kids to my sister's house where we usually spend our holidays, and know that when my mom was ready to go, I could easily move out with her, and the rest of my family got to stay and enjoy the time with the rest of the extended family. But it was a time also, I felt, for me to be able to take my mom back and just have some quiet time, maybe have a cup of tea or watch a Christmas special or something on the TV and just have some of that quiet time with her. She was much more relaxed. I didn't have to deal with potential sleeping issues or any type of negative behavior if she got overly stimulated or tired from having that experience. So again, having some of that flexibility and just adjust for them. Another thing is if you're thinking about trying something new, a new tradition, a new activity, or something along those lines, know that that individual who is living with dementia may have some confusion and not understand what's going on or why are we doing this. And they just feel out of sorts with things. So you might want to think about how that individual may respond to whatever you're trying to do, or maybe have an alternative activity or something for them so that they don't feel pressured into trying to do what everyone else is doing. And then thirdly, I would also suggest for individuals, if you have an individual who suffers, for instance, from sundowning, you might want to adjust some of the timing of the activities and meals that you're going to have. My mother was a big sundowner type of an individual. When 4 o'clock came around, she started getting anxious and she just needed some time and space. So we pushed our dinner time up to, 2:30 in the afternoon so that we could get through dinner and have a nice dinner together before my mom would start getting a little anxious. And it allowed her to get a good meal into her as well, and then be able to exit. So think about adjusting those expectations. Think about if you're going to try anything new or different, consider what that impact might be on that individual. And then also consider the timing of when you're doing activities and how that individual would best respond during certain periods of time. Now, Michael, I know you had some time with your mom where you had to make some special adjustments as well. Why don't you share what you had to do with your mom?
Actually, one of the things that I suggest is that you not have the family dinner or the holiday dinner at the home of the person who has dementia. Remember, as Jackie mentioned about the overstimulation with all the people. And if it's at their home, they cannot get away from that. Wherever they go, there's going to be people around. So try to have it at someone else's house this time so that your family member with dementia can get away. They can go outside and everything's not on them. Okay. Having time and space for a person to recharge and rest can be helpful. If it's an all-day event, for example, my oldest daughter's birthday, is December 25th. So we celebrate Christmas in the morning, her birthday in the afternoon. So when my mother was alive and she would come over, there was a spare bedroom where she can go and lay down in between in the afternoon. So make sure that, there is a place if they're going to be there all day. And if you're going to be traveling, take in consideration traveling time. If it's a 2 or 3 hour drive to get from where this person lives to where the event's going to be, and then you're going to be there for another 6 hours and another 2 or 3 hour drive back home. Those of you who had small children, if you can remember that ride home with the 2-year-old who was unhappy in the back of the car, but now you got figuratively speaking, an 82-year-old who's acting the same way. So plan to spend the night, either the night before or the night after. And always, 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 when you're going out with this person, even if it's just for the day, have a change of clothes in the trunk of the car. You never know. It's like you did with that child. Keep a change of clothes with you. These are some of the things that you might have to change in your way of living in order to go along with the person that you're taking care of. Jackie?
Yeah, and we talk about a lot of these changes and adjustments and whatnot. And, oftentimes now we're focusing on this conversation, we're talking about all the things that they can't do, but we really also encourage you to shift that thinking and that mindset to focus on the things that they can do and appreciate the time that you have with them on the things that they can do. Oftentimes holidays are wrapped in with tradition. And when we think about what tradition is it really is an opportunity to bring people together over a commonality and share something and have a bond. And we do encourage you to really kind of take that step back, and you might have to make an adjustment to the tradition, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad. It's just different. And so think about some of the things that you could have the individual do and let them participate, but in a different way. My mom used to be the one who made the turkey and the gravy, and now obviously she wasn't able to do that. So we had to adjust. We had 4 girls in our family. None of us knew how to make gravy, and we had to figure it out. And so now we've got it down and we have a plan. It's not the way mom used to do it. Like right after the turkey came out of the oven, I actually made it last weekend and did it when I could do it and not be rushed to get to the dinner table, because that wouldn't be good for me. And so those are just some adjustments that you have to make. So things that you can think about with the individual, make a list of ideas, have them engage with the grandchildren and make paper chains and decorate the tree with those, or make other decorations, decorate cookies. Maybe they're already baked and they can just decorate them with the icing and the sprinkles and just have some fun together doing that. Driving around, looking at the festive lights, and listening to Christmas carols and holiday music, reading, or even sending cards and having them, write their name on the cards. And if they want to try and write a message, if they're able to do that as well. So I think the big thing is really just, know that those traditions might need to adjust, but instead of mourning the things that you're not able to do any longer with that individual, relish in the things that they are able to do and bring light to having fun and joy and bringing everyone together over some perhaps new traditions or temporary traditions that you might have. So we did talk a little bit just a moment ago about grandchildren and any type of children, really. When you think about the holidays, oftentimes this might be a time where children are seeing a family member or a friend or a loved one, and that they might not have seen in a while. And they may not have noticed or been aware that there has been some changes with this individual that's living with dementia. We encourage you to talk to the children beforehand, before they're going to see that individual, and try to explain at their level what dementia is, how it may be affecting that individual, and just let them ask questions and get their feelings out. The children may start seeing these individuals start eating food with their fingers at dinner time where they typically would not have done that. And they would be like, why are they eating with their food? They might start asking the children the same question over and over again. And they would be like, why'd she just ask me that again? I just told her. Or they may have a lapse in their memory of the name of that child, which can be hurtful or painful for that child if they're not aware of what might be going on. So there are a number of books and resources available to have that conversation and open up that conversation with children around individuals who are living with dementia and what they might be experiencing, and to prepare them for that experience. You can find those resources at alz.org/kids. That's alz.org/kids. Now, Michael, I know you have a very special group of individuals that might need some special consideration during the holidays as well. Why don't you share this next special group with us?
Yes, we'll talk about this group. As I mentioned earlier, I do facilitate a couple of support groups. One is for men only, and in that group, I have a gentleman by the name of Brian. And Brian just lost his wife of 34 years this year. And he has given me permission to talk about his situation. And this will be his first holiday. Also, my co-facilitator in another group, Carolyn, she just lost her husband of 14 years to Lewy bodies disease. She lost him on October 8th. So it's still fresh and it's still grieving. And I see Hannah, who put into the chat that she just lost her mother to early onset. My condolences to you, Hannah. So what we're going to talk about now is what's colloquially known as broken heart syndrome. It's an illness after loss. Now, people have probably heard about former President George H.W. Bush becoming seriously ill after the death of his wife, Barbara, and they had been together for 73 years. Or musician Johnny Cash, who died 4 months after his wife, June, had passed away. There are many other couples who have been married for over 50 years who end up dying within hours, days, or weeks of each other. Even if the one spouse was in relatively good health when the first one died. And the same is also true for parents. Now, is it possible that grief is implicated in illness and higher risk of death? Yes. Grief suppresses the immune system, making it more likely for grieving people to get sick, ranging from a mild illness like colds or flu. And the Alzheimer's Association just has information out on the colds and flu prevention and COVID. All right. There's also a form of cardiomyopathy, which is called, again, broken heart syndrome, in which extreme stress causes part of the heart to temporarily enlarge and fail to pump well. All right. In 2002, a team of researchers also found about psychological trauma can have a serious effect on one's immunity. All right. So these are things that do actually affect how grief does actually affect the person's immune system, and people do get sick and die from it. There's one more study I want to talk about, and it's the widowhood effect, and where it showed that widowed people, or men in particular, widowed men, have a 30% increase in mortality over their expected rates after their wife dies. So these are some of the things that you need to be concerned about if a friend of yours' spouse has just passed recently. Now, what can you do for someone like that? We're going to go over a few things on that. Okay, let them know it's not a good idea to suppress tears and emotion. Suppressing grief can result in clinical depression. Tears are a sign of love. Help them find a support group or a grief counselor. Give them a good book about grief. Remind them of all they still have to live for. That could include friends, children, and or grandchildren. or creating a legacy that honors their spouse or their parents. At the same time, encourage them to tell the stories and remember the person that has just passed. Encourage healthy eating and adequate water consumption and good sleep. They need to get proper sleep. And last but not least, ask about the things that have brought comfort in the past. Perhaps it is a soak in a hot tub or a walk through a forest. Whatever that calmed that person down, help them do that and spend time with them through this holiday season.
So this is a really heavy topic, obviously, coming into the holidays, but just recognize there are individuals in your community and your neighbors, loved ones, friends, family, whatnot, who might be experiencing some of this loss. Even if it hasn't been recent, this might be their first Christmas. It might even be their fifth Christmas without the individual that they love. And an opportunity to make sure that they are included in activities and celebrations, but also giving them time to grieve as well. Well, the first year after my mom passed away, I know my mom loved chocolate covered cherries. And of course, all of us kids always got her a box of chocolate covered cherries for Christmas. And she had more than she ever needed, but she loved them all. And the first year after she passed away, we actually got a couple of boxes of chocolate covered cherries. And part of our family's activity after we had dinner was we passed the box around, everyone would grab a chocolate covered cherry. And before they were able to eat the cherry, they had to share just a story or a memory of my mom. And it was so great hearing the different things that people were remembering. And but it was a way of honoring her as well. So even though that there might be great loss, there is opportunity to turn that and make it a positive experience for those individuals as well.
All right. As a wrap up, we've covered a lot of information today, and everyone's situation is unique. There is no one fits all. And Lori, to answer your question about the men's group, call the 800 number that they put in the chat, and that will connect you to a group that's convenient for you. I know there is one that actually meets this afternoon at 4 o'clock. All right. And they're all virtual that I'm aware of. All right. Most importantly, we want everyone to know there are resources and support available. The Alzheimer's Helpline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on the holidays. There's always someone there you can talk to. You will reach a real live person to talk to. And if English is not your first language, still call. They have people there who speak other languages, or they will connect you to a translation service. So don't be reluctant to call just because English isn't your first language. All right. Okay. Also, you can go online you can call us to alts.org/education, which I believe they just put in the chat. And our online discussion forum is alt.connected.org. Alt Connected, I'm sorry, no dot in there. Altconnected.org. So those are two places you can go online. And if you're not computer savvy, then call the 800 number. They will help you. That's 800-272-3900. Okay, thank you for joining us today, and have an enjoyable holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you.